Tonight, a Port Lincoln family left distraught following a home invasion overnight, and delays yesterday for people crossing the South Australia-New South Wales border.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. It's been a busy 24 hours for Port Lincoln Police, investigating a terrifying overnight home invasion, leaving a local family distraught. In a separate incident, a manhunt was also underway for a masked suspect who robbed a Port Lincoln service station at Knife Point early this morning.
3 a.m. Monday morning, a hooded thief creeps through this Port Lincoln home while the family sleeps just metres away.
We've been really shocked and feel quite violated about what's happened.
Security vision capturing the thief rifle through drawers and bags before making off with alcohol and personal items. Kai and her husband blissfully unaware of the intruder inside their home.
I felt sick to the stomach to know that while I was lying in bed next to my husband and my children in the house, that somebody could just brazenly walk into my home.
It's understood the thief scaled the outside wall, denting the gate as they pushed themselves onto the upstairs balcony. An unlocked door then letting the intruder straight inside.
Obviously it just highlights the fact that unfortunately some of our offenders in and around this area are quite active and they're willing to take any risk to try and break into people's homes.
The vision has been handed over to police. It's hoped someone will recognise the suspect and dob them in. Meanwhile, a masked man threatened staff at this Port Lincoln service station with a knife, demanding money and cigarettes early this morning. Police say there's no links to identify that it's the same person in both robberies.
Our criminal investigation branch are working with patrols to identify leads and to follow those leads up to hopefully have an offender in custody as soon as we can.
He's described as being in his late teens with a slim build, wearing an orange red hooded jumper with markings on the back.
The recent crime here in Port Lincoln is terrible for people to feel violated while they're in their own homes, or people whilst they're working having to be subject to such violence.
Anyone with information is encouraged to contact police. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A 29-year-old man has been charged with arson and acts to endanger life following a house fire at Whyalla Stuart yesterday afternoon. Specialised investigators flying into the Steel City this morning, spending the day piecing through the scene. Our reporter Sophia Contagonis has the story.
Police were called to a domestic disturbance at a home on Taylor Street just after 3 in the afternoon yesterday. A short time later, authorities received calls of a fire at the same home, where police say one occupant refused to leave the property.
So on arrival, police were confronted by a house that was on fire at that address, and there was a gentleman at the front door of the house behaving somewhat erratically.
Authorities say they confronted the man, who was then detained and taken to hospital. The property was left extensively damaged, with minor smoke damage also to an adjoining home.
Look, at this stage the estimate is about $80,000 to $100,000. However, we do have fire calls investigators from Adelaide arriving this morning, and they'll be able to make a further assessment in regards to that.
It was a lucky escape for residents, with no one injured. Neighbours watched on from their front yards as multiple fire crews tried to contain the blaze, taking around 20 minutes before firefighters started ventilating the property, while police blocked off the street, making room for emergency crews.
One of our roles is to ensure the safety of the public and make sure that there's good access and egress for other emergency services.
The Whyalla Stuart man has been charged with arson and was refused bail. He remains under police guard while at hospital.
A Port Pirie professional fisherman has been commended by the MFS after helping a vessel in distress near Wirroona Island on Sunday. At around 8:30 p.m, a boat lost its anchor and engine power, drifting at 10 knots into large swells and wind. Authorities responded. However, local David Wilkes provided assistance until SES crews arrived. Station officer Ian Sully saying without his assistance there would have been significant risk to life, if not multiple fatalities. Drivers entering South Australia through the Barrier Highway are being reminded they still need to have a cross-border permit. There were long delays at Oodlawirra yesterday afternoon as holiday makers return to Adelaide. Some drivers saying it took over an hour to get through the checkpoint. South Australia Police is, however, blaming the long queues on people who hadn't completed a permit application before trying to enter the state. While the permit system has remained in place, the checkpoint itself was only reinstated last Monday as a result of new cases breaking out in Queensland. Still to come tonight, police out in full force, drivers caught doing the wrong thing over the Easter long weekend, and plenty of tourists enjoyed their holidays at the small town of Silverton. Welcome back. With the Easter long weekend officially over, South Australia Police is still urging drivers to stay safe out on the roads. While there were no fatalities across the Spencer Gulf, they say plenty of drivers were still caught doing the wrong thing.
With many South Australians hitting the road this Easter, police were once again out in full force for Operation Safe Long Weekend. Pleasingly, there were no regional fatalities or serious injuries across the Spencer Gulf. But police say they're still disappointed with some driver behaviour.
We still had a high number of motorists that were detected exceeding the speed limit and committing other offences, with approximately 170 expeditions issued over the long weekend.
Yesterday morning, police on the Flinders Ranges Way detected a driver travelling at 140 kilometres an hour in a 110 zone. Later that afternoon, a motorist was detected on the Stuart Highway in the far north, driving 65 kilometres an hour over the speed limit. The 56-year-old Northern Territory man was issued an instant loss of licence and on-the-spot fine.
What is disturbing about this is it was actually very close to where we had our significant collision in the last couple of weeks, where 2 lives were lost.
He says it's disappointing some motorists still aren't getting the message.
And Saturday afternoon, another motorist was detected travelling at 153 kilometres an hour in the 110 kilometre speed zone.
A significant focus also on testing, with more than 1,500 drivers checked for drugs and alcohol in the far north local service area.
A 79-year-old man was detected on Friday driving with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.12, which is over 2 times the legal limit.
Despite this, police say they are pleased with the majority of drivers obeying road rules.
To only have 1 driver test positive to alcohol and 1 positive to drugs is a very pleasing sign that some motorists are getting the message.
With the Easter long weekend operation now complete, police are still reminding the community to do the right thing and drive safely on our roads.
Just because the long weekend has passed doesn't mean we don't take our eye off road safety. We'll still be providing a focus on the Fatal 5 through the month of April.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The long weekend may be over, but the influx of tourists to Silverton is showing little sign of slowing down. It was a record-breaking Easter for some businesses, who remain hopeful the trend will continue after the school holidays.
A so-called ghost town bustling with life. The main street of Silverton lined with cars again today as travellers continue to holiday at home.
Very busy, yeah.
It's extraordinarily busy.
Yep.
It's obviously a very popular spot, but that's Broken Hill in general, I think, and the surrounding areas.
It's been a bumper weekend for the village, with almost every business saying this year was noticeably busier than previous Easters.
Silverton's been buzzing all for the last 4 or 5 days, so it's been unreal.
The surge continuing today with long lines at the Mad Max Museum and a similar story at the Silverton Hotel over the weekend.
Good Friday was a bit like a Myers end-of-year sale. They were lined up out the door. I'd never seen it before.
Saturday, a record-breaking day for the iconic pub, serving more than 450 meals. But while there were a few interstate travellers, most had come from the East Coast, still uneasy about border restrictions.
90% New South Wales. Few getting over the borders on the other side, but not many.
Many spending their time and dollars at Silverton due to businesses closing in Broken Hill for the long weekend.
Were a few complaints about that, but wasn't a lot to do for families, so they all come out to Silverton.
The influx giving businesses a moral boost as well as an economic one. Hopeful the trend will continue.
We anticipate we're going to start seeing a lot of caravans over this winter season because, once again, the demand's pretty strong.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, with the school holidays just around the corner, Whyallas Tourism Centre is preparing some fun for local families and travellers. Staff encouraging residents to get in quick with multiple activities on offer.
Travellers arriving in the Still City this morning looking for something to do.
We're doing a lap of Australia. I'm just here for a holiday. I'm looking at the Navy ship.
Many enjoying Whyalla's popular ship tour here at the Tourism Centre. Staff encouraging those interested to book ahead of time, with most tours already selling out days in advance.
The ship tours at 11:30 and at 1:30 every day.
The Steelworks tour also back up and running.
So many people that have come through, travelling through, coming to Whyalla specifically just for visiting family, that sort of thing. And the Steelworks tours have booked up completely for the week. So really awesome, and numbers coming through is great.
And with school holidays less than 1 week away, the centre is offering an interactive activity for children and families. The Trains on the Track program on display at the Maritime Museum.
And it's asking them what type of animals and what things are around that model railway. So they have to go in and really get into that section and find those answers.
The Trains program not the only new feature, with the recently installed Cuttlefish kiosk also open to the public.
So the Cuttlefish kiosk is great. We're really excited that that's just joined us in the museum.
And for this young visitor, Whyalla's must-see attraction, the dolphins, has already been ticked off the bucket list.
We saw them this morning.
Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. A Port Augusta financial advisor urges locals to be aware of scams. And the Heart Foundation calls for state government investment in this year's budget. Hello again. A Port Augusta financial advisor is raising concerns following a number of her clients coming forward after being scammed. She says the community needs to remain vigilant while urging victims to speak out.
Anybody can be the target of a scam. That's the message from this financial advisor, saying she's seen a number of her clients recently fall victim.
People are embarrassed about it. They're too embarrassed to tell their families, and that's why we get calls from all over country, South Australia, from Port Lincoln to Ceduna to Crystal Brook to Pirrie to everywhere, asking us, do you think this is a scam?
She says scammers are getting smarter, using technology and posing as reputable companies, ripping off people of all ages.
Lots of people getting a phone call from Telstra, getting a phone call from, someone saying, oh, we'll just ring up about your computer, you're having problems.
Experienced by one of her clients, after being alerted they had won the Cross Lotto and directed to transfer money to another bank account in order to claim their prize.
But when you physically go and get money out of your bank account, like one of our clients did, she physically got nearly 20 grand out of her bank account and went and put it in someone's bank account, then that is a real problem right there.
In a statement, a police spokesperson reminds the community to be suspicious if an offer seems too good to be true, and to remember to protect yourself and avoid giving out personal information over the phone or via the internet.
We just want to warn people to be careful. Don't trust everybody like the good old days.
Anyone can report scams to their local police station or online. Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Heart Foundation says more lives could be saved if extra funding is injected into heart disease research. The organisation calling on government investment ahead of South Australia's budget.
It's a silent killer which is responsible for almost a third of all deaths in Australia, prompting organisations to desperately renew calls for more research.
Not only leads to better treatments and improvements to care, but it also provides an economic boost.
The Heart Foundation going cap in hand to the South Australian Government, wanting investment into its heart disease research. Is proposing the government digs deep to provide $3.5 million, saying the foundation will match that investment dollar for dollar.
What this $7 million could do is create jobs and provide a research career for up to 17 people over the next 8 years.
Cardiovascular disease was the underlying cause of death for more than 41,000 people across Australia in 2018, according to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. It's hoped future research can help lower that number while also providing a shot in the arm for the economy.
Every dollar invested into medical research has a return on that investment of up to $10. So it's one of the best economic boosting activities you can actually have is funding research.
The state budget is due to be handed down in August. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Broken Hill eyesore could soon be transformed into a community garden following a proposal to local council. The pitch receiving widespread support at last week's meeting, but the project could still be years away.
It was once the heart of the south, but this is the Alma pool site today, overgrown and covered in tumbleweeds.
The swimming pool was removed or closed near 20 years ago now, so it's become a bit of an eyesore there. People are complaining.
Tom Kennedy asking council to prepare a report to determine whether a community-run garden could take its place, that motion receiving widespread support from fellow councillors.
I think something needs to be done on that side. It's been ignored far too long.
This is a chance for vegetable gardens and other community gardens that can deliver back to the community, but also make that area look a lot nicer.
He says allowing the community to take charge would reduce costs to ratepayers, as council would no longer pay to keep the land tidy.
When the weeds get out of control, they've got to be maintained. No one wants a snake fest.
The report is just the first step towards the transformation of the site. It's likely to be some time before any idea becomes reality.
There is concerns that there may be some contamination on that site, and I think that's why the previous councils had not been able to address it.
No timeline has yet been given for the report's completion. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. The Joy-Baloo Bridge works leads to the closure of a major road. And we'll have the weather details with Alex. Welcome back. Tassie Street in Port Augusta will be temporarily closed for 6 weeks due to a crane pad brought in to aid construction for the Joy-Baloo Bridge duplication project. Noise and vibrations are expected during the works, but will be managed to minimise disruption to nearby residents and businesses. Pedestrian access along Tassie Street will not be restricted. Detours will be in place via Thompson Street, Flinders Terrace and Young Street. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby. A beautiful sunny autumn day across our region today, with daytime temperatures mainly in the mid to high 20s. There are no current warnings in place for South Australia. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta reached 29, Port Lincoln got to a high of 22, and Kadina reached a maximum of 25 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla got to a max of 26, a top of 29 in both Broken Hill and Port Pirie. Woodner and Cooper Pedy had the region's tops of 33. Cleve reached 25, 28 the max in Clare, and if you were in Adelaide, it got to a high of 24 degrees there. Taking a look at the satellite image now, skies are largely clear under the influence of a broad high-pressure system and a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, tending southeast to southwesterly late morning, reaching 15 to 20 knots from mid-afternoon before returning to southeasterly in the late evening. Seas around 1 metre, but will increase to 1.5 in the early evening, and south-southwesterly swell 1 to 2 metres, decreasing to 1.5 metres around midday. It's set to be another sunny day tomorrow, with daytime temperatures set to be in the high 20s to mid 30s. Port Lincoln 27 degrees, Cleve will top 30 degrees, Woodner to reach 34. Whyalla sunny and 28 degrees, set to be a top of 32 degrees in Port Augusta, and Kadina will reach a high of 29 degrees. Port Pirie 31 degrees and a top of 29 in both Clare and Broken Hill. Taking a look further through the week now, sunny in Cooper Pedy, Broken Hill and Port Augusta, with temperatures in the low to mid 30s, partly cloudy across the rest of the Gulf on Thursday. A max of 36 degrees in Woodner, a top of 33 in both Port Pirie and Whyalla, 31 in Adelaide, Port Lincoln and Kadina. Partly cloudy conditions on Friday, except for in the far north. Temperatures in the mid to high 20s and low 30s. Cooper Pedy is set to have the region's top again of 35 degrees, while Port Lincoln will have the region's low of 24, 33 in Port Augusta and Woodner, a max of 31 in both Broken Hill and Port Pirie. And if you're planning on heading to Adelaide, it's set to be a top of 27 degrees there. Heading into the weekend forecast now, and Saturday is looking to be a mainly fine day with slightly cooler temperatures. Cooper Pedy will have the region's top of 31, while Adelaide and Port Lincoln will be cloudy and record a max of 21 degrees. Temperatures elsewhere mainly set to be in the mid-20s. So Ruby, let's hope these conditions continue as we approach the start of the school holidays. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. Back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.